Welcome to the D-Top 10. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an ancient text called the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. These 24 protocols are, allegedly controlling and influencing world governments, global finance and banking, education systems, the media, religious institutions, and even public morality. The big question we must all answer now is, are these so-called conspiracies still considered far-fetched? When observing the pattern in United States foreign policy, particularly the deference shown to Israeli leadership, it really raises some important questions. For example, former President Donald Trump was, pretty vocal about the false premise behind the Iraq War, namely the claim that there were weapons of mass destruction. Yet now, we're seeing similar dynamics unfold. Despite the United States intelligence community stating clearly that Iran does not possess nuclear weapons, Israel's Prime Minister Binjamin Netanyahu has made unverified claims suggesting otherwise. And once again, the United States appears to be responding in alignment without independently substantiating those claims. This brings us to broader debates about influence, power, and policy. One controversial historical document, the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, has supposedly been discredited as a fraudulent and anti-Semitic forgery that falsely claimed to reveal a Jewish conspiracy for world domination, who supposedly conspire to manipulate. But let us, park the version of the so-called historians and scholars, and judge for ourselves. Let us hear what they say so that you can judge for yourself. These 24 protocols are allegedly controlling and influencing world governments, global finance and banking, education systems, the media, religious institutions, and public morality. The 24 so-called protocols or steps, which include tactics like controlling the press, undermining religion, causing economic chaos, and influencing political leaders to create a new world order governed by Jewish elites. So, here's some important context. The protocols were actually forged by the Russian Tsarist secret police known as the Okhrana around the year 1903. And honestly, it plagiarized parts of a 19th century French political satire that wasn't related to Jews at all. In 1921, the Times of London exposed the protocols as a hoax. But despite being debunked, it was used extensively in Nazi propaganda, including by Adolf Hitler in Mein Kampf. And, it helped justify the Holocaust. Even today the text continues to circulate, especially online, and is often cited by anti-Semites and conspiracy theorists. Control of governments and political power. The protocols claim that Jews plan to undermine and infiltrate world governments in order to install authoritarian regimes under their control. It presents a fictional strategy of destabilizing monarchies, democracies, and parliaments through revolutions and wars, all orchestrated by a secret Jewish elite. The ultimate goal, according to the document, is to replace all national governments with a singular Jewish-led world authority. This, honestly, reflects typical scapegoating used to blame Jews for political upheavals like the Russian Revolution or World War I. So, one of the most common themes in the protocols is the allegation that Jews control the world's financial systems. The forged document claims that Jewish financiers create economic crises, monopolies, and national debts to, enslave nations and concentrate wealth and power. This includes the idea that Jews manipulate currency, interest rates, and international markets just to weaken governments. These claims are really the root of long-standing anti-Semitic myths about so-called Jewish bankers and global financial conspiracies, none of which are based in fact. Another fabricated theme is the supposed Jewish control over global news and entertainment media. The protocols claim that the elders use newspapers, books, and later even cinema to influence public opinion, spread propaganda, and demoralize societies. The text falsely asserts that this control helps brainwash the masses, promote immorality, and suppress dissent. This trope has been widely used to incite fear about media ownership, even though there's clear evidence that the media is diverse and not centrally controlled by any one ethnic or religious group. The protocols also allege that Jews intend to weaken Christianity and all other religions by spreading secularism, atheism, and moral decay. It claims that Jewish agents encourage vice, corruption, pornography, and degeneracy to erode family values and traditional institutions. According to the text, this moral decline is, supposedly, a tool to make populations easier to manipulate. This idea was historically used to attack Jews as anti-Christian or anti-religious, especially in European societies with really strong religious identities. So, the document claims that the so-called Jewish elders plan to take over education systems in order to mislead future generations. This supposedly includes rewriting history, promoting false science or philosophy, and discouraging critical thinking. According to the protocols, education would be used to teach obedience and loyalty to this imagined future Jewish world government. You know, this false idea just feeds into conspiracy theories about cultural or ideological control, and honestly, it's been used to undermine trust in academic and intellectual institutions. Another central claim of the protocols is that Jews deliberately cause wars, revolutions, and political unrest to destabilize nations and advance their control. I mean, we've seen Netanyahu creating wars with Palestine, Libya, Iraq, and now recently Iran. Like, the guy has been claiming that there are nuclear weapons in Iran for a long time with no proof, right? Did we not see him do that? According to the text, both sides in a conflict are secretly manipulated by the same Jewish interests. This theme was really widely used by Nazi Germany to argue that Jews were behind World War I, communism, capitalism, and all sorts of conflicting ideologies. But again, these are entirely fictional accusations that just serve to externalize blame and justify violent antisemitism. The protocols basically culminate in the idea that all of these fabricated strategies, controlling media, banks, education, religion, and governments, are just steps toward one single goal: the creation of a totalitarian world government ruled by Jews. The document even envisions a puppet king or dictator who enforces absolute obedience under the so-called elders' rule. This is really the foundational myth behind a lot of later conspiracy theories about a new world order. And you know, it's been completely discredited by scholars, journalists, and courts worldwide. Well, one thing we can agree on is that it sure doesn't look like US presidents are in control. It almost looks like they get instructions elsewhere, like they're told to jump and they just respond by asking how high. Historians believe that each of these themes was intentionally designed to incite hatred, promote violence, and justify state-sponsored anti-Semitism, especially in Tsarist Russia and Nazi Germany. The document is believed by historians and scholars to be a forgery, a hoax, and a political weapon, not a real plan, not a religious or cultural document, and definitely not a historical source. Still, belief in its content continues to pose a danger by fueling modern conspiracy theories that really distort reality and encourage discrimination. But, you know, you be the judge for yourself. The Bible did say, "You shall know them by their fruits."